The Aruba Court of Appeals gave extra time for Joran Vandersloots' lawyers to argue why he should not be rearrested. Now, is that fair? Let's check in with the legal panel. In San Francisco, former San Francisco Assistant DA Jim Hammer, criminal defense attorney Michael Cardoza, and here in Washington, criminal defense attorney Ted Williams and Bernie Grimm. Jim, they should have time to respond, right? That seems fair.
It's absolutely fair. Having said that, if I'm the prosecutor in the case, I'll tell you I have less than 50% hope that the Court of Appeals will overturn them. I think rightly some trial judges should get some deference. They know the evidence. They've looked at it. And I would not put out a lot of hope that they're actually going to order him rearrested at this point. Michael?
You know, I think they are going to rearrest him on this. I think they do have enough. I'd fall short of calling this a confession. It's more an admission, if anything. But my question is, what if the Netherlands courts says, no, we're not going to allow you to do that? Can Aruba, and it's my understanding they can. They can say we're going to prosecute him anyway. Isn't that true? And if that's true, the question, it begs the question then, how do they get Joran back to Aruba? Because I think they'd be barred from extraditing him, if that's the right word in this case, back from the Netherlands. So there are all sorts of problems here.
Well, the first step is to get an arrest warrant and get it executed in Holland, because that's where he is. I wouldn't go home if I were Joran.
No, but
neither would I.
I agree with Cardoza. I don't think the term is extradition as we use it here. With there's an arrest warrant for Ted and he's in Paraguay, you'd have to go down there and extradite him and bring him through the Paraguay system.
Absolutely.
But I think there's an order of instruction, but I don't know if he has to comply with it if he's facing the penalty, and the penalty is no more than, in this case, I think it's 3 years or less.
If it's disposing of the body, according to Helen Lajoie, who used to be the chief prosecutor.
How long?
I think 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, can you extradite somebody? Because you can't extradite somebody on misdemeanors, ever, not even in this country. So.
Yeah, well, the way I'm looking at this is, and I'm sort of like Michael here, that I'm very much hoping that there will be an arrest, like a lot of us are. I think that as I listened to the segment before we came on, the investigator said that there was nothing but an alleged confession, but there was more. Beth Holloway had been on that beach only a few hours when she was told that, and asked the question by the authorities there was, did she have any epileptic seizure, meaning Natalie. And now we find Joran on the tape talking about the woman or the girl was shaken. So that falls into the line with me believing that two things here. One, that Joran apparently may have told the authorities initially that she was shaken. So that is some corroboration of the facts.
But the problem is, in the tape, he doesn't say that he killed her.
Exactly. Well, you know,
that's the problem.
And it is a problem, because the question is, did he kill her? I don't think we're going to know the answer. Was there an accident that really happened, and did he try to cover up an accident?
Ted, that's the whole problem in the case. If you imagine yourself as the prosecutor in this case, Ted, if I were standing in front of that judge at a trial, I've got to tell him how I think this thing happened. And if I can't, in my own mind, put together a scenario which I believe, which is murder, how do I prosecute the guy?
This is great. I mean, if I ever get in trouble, I want to be prosecuted by Hammer. He's about the fairest son of a gun around.
Conflict of interest. Dear
hey, Jim,
friend, I could never. You and my mom, I couldn't prosecute Bernie.
You know what I find interesting here is there's been information that's come out. When Natalie was at the bar, people were saying the bartender mixed a couple drinks, and in one of the drinks, he put a clear liquid substance. I would hope the police have gone there. Certainly, I would think that Natalie's investigators, the Holloway family investigators, have gone there and looked at that bartender, because if that bartender was the one that put some sort of drug in that drink, then isn't he culpable in this case, and perhaps for murder?
So has that
been too, Mike?
I don't know how you ever proved that. I don't know how you ever proved that. Although I would be curious to know if she was walking, how she was walking from Carlos and Charlie's to the car, if she looked like she had been drugged, or whether or not it'll take about 15 or 20 minutes, I guess, to kick in.
Yeah, but I mean, we've seen file tape. It was clear that she was drinking, and from my impression, if somebody said I'm forced to guess, it looked like she had been drinking a lot. Now, I don't know if she had any condition that came on when she was drinking, or if she got some drug, and Michael's right, but unless you have her and you can dissect her liver, you're never going to be able to find that out.
What is interesting in this is Paulus, the father. I am still focusing on the father, and mainly because we now have been told on this audio tape, this so-called ignition, that the father got a cell phone, allegedly, to Vandersloot while he was in prison.
Which is weird.
That is terribly weird. And how did he get a telephone in there, and why would he have a telephone in prison to do whatever he wants? So I'm very concerned about what, if anything, Paulus had to do with this.
Frankly, I think that the Dutch should investigate the Aruban police and the Aruban jails.
And I think they need to talk to Paulus again.
I mean, if that happened here, if that happened in the United States, we'd have Justice Department, Public Integrity, or the Civil Rights Division, or somebody investigating.
Greta, more than that, it really goes to the heart of what investigators are hoping to do early on: separate people, get separate statements. You hope you trip them up in a statement, confront them. Once they're talking to each other off the record, that totally sabotages the entire thing, and that's what happened in this investigation. Early on, they didn't get these guys in jails separated and trying to get statements.
All right, panel.
Well, here's the real issue here. Does the DA wait, or do they prosecute?
He's on vacation, Michael, in Holland. I might sarcastically add. So I guess he waits. Anyway, panel, thank you.
Well, I don't mean it that way, but all right.
I understand. Here's a look at what's coming up after this show on the O'Reilly Factor.